How do you start a war with an apple? So this is one of my favourite myths. What I love about pantheistic religions, pantheistic? Basically religions with lots of gods instead of one god. So Christianity is a monotheistic religion, one big guy upstairs. And pantheistic religions have hundreds of guys upstairs, downstairs, in my lady's chamber. Not as untrue as you might think. Zeus puts it around quite a bit. The thing I love about pantheistic religions is that they have a god for everything. For everything. For human lives, for animal lives, for things that happen in life, for how life starts, for how life ends. Everything is presided over by a different god. In ancient Greece, in between gods of the underworld and gods of childbirth and gods of women, gods of all the things, is my favourite god, Eris, who is the goddess of chaos and discord. Eris's most famous myth starts with a party. So Zeus, who is the head god of the Olympians, and all the gods are called Olympians because they all live on Mount Olympus. Zeus throws a party, and he invites all the other Olympians except Eris, because nobody wants to invite Eris to the party because, you know, she's a bit of a troublemaker. So Eris is a little miffed that she didn't get an invite to the party. So she creates a golden apple and inscribes Callisti onto it. Callisti means for the prettiest one, and she rolls it into the hall where the party is happening. And 3 of the goddesses pounce on it. Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite all jump on it and all claim it for themselves. So Hera is the wife of Zeus. She's also the goddess of women, childbirth, mothering, families, that kind of thing. Athena is the goddess of wisdom and war, and Aphrodite is the goddess of love, passion, and procreation. So they all pounce on it and they all claim it for themselves because they all think they are the prettiest one. And so, because they can't decide, they go over to Zeus and demand that he judge them in what may be the first mythological beauty contest. Zeus is not at all interested in getting in the middle of this because no matter which way he goes, he's going to have 2 very angry goddesses at the end. So he handballs this decision to Paris, who is the Prince of Troy. So all the goddesses swoop over to Paris and say, all right, you got to judge this, buddy. So as Paris is nervously walking up and down the line of these 3 very powerful women trying to decide who is the prettiest, they all try and bribe him. So Hera offers to make him king of Europe and Asia, and Athena offers to give him massive amounts of wisdom and wisdom in warfare, and Aphrodite offers him the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris goes with Aphrodite. Paris gives Aphrodite the golden apple, and Aphrodite gives Paris Helen, who is the queen of Sparta and married to the king of Sparta, Menelaus. Menelaus is not that pleased that someone nicked his wife and gave her to somebody else. Although I haven't really read myths that talk about how Helen feels about this. Like, was Helen also miffed that she was no longer married to Menelaus and a bribe in a beauty contest? Or was Helen magicked into, godded, religionized into loving Paris and therefore didn't mind that she was no longer queen of Sparta and instead became Helen of Troy? I don't know. Have you read those? Comments! Help me fill gaps in my knowledge of my favourite myth. Menelaus is very grumpy that he no longer has Helen and declares war on Troy. So the Trojan War goes on for 10 years. There's a famous bit about a horse. And at the end of 10 years, Troy has been destroyed. So Paris's parents would have been pretty grumpy at him if they were still alive, which by now they're probably not. So the moral of the story is always invite petty people to your parties. And why do I love this myth so much? So I love the fact that there is a goddess of chaos. Like, life is so chaotic and weird and random that I really love that somewhere out there is someone pulling all the strings, which I guess is one of the comforting things about religion, isn't it? That there's always a bigger plan involved. In the monotheistic Christian Western culture that I have grown up in, you know, it's just one dude upstairs and there's one dude downstairs and that's sort of it. Whereas I love that there's like this massive bureaucracy of gods who have all been assigned different tasks. There's just something epic about that. So people often talk about ancient Greek and ancient Roman, and sometimes it's not really clear what they're talking about, because ancient Rome and ancient Greek were actually two different societies. But the ancient Romans looked back at the ancient Greeks and thought that the way they structured their society was pretty cool. So ancient Romans basically copied all of their stuff and just renamed it things. You'll find that the ancient Roman pantheon basically has all the same gods and goddesses as the ancient Greek pantheon, except they're just all called different things. Eris in the Greek tradition, she translates into Discordia for the Roman tradition. Right, cool, sorted, good. You got questions? Put them down below. I'll try and answer them. My undergrad is partly to do with all this stuff, so I'll give it my damnedest.